At Making Medicine, we're reporting on the headlines, not making medical recommendations. For personal health questions, always consult a doctor. Nothing in this episode constitutes investment, financial, or legal advice, and please consult your own advisors before making decisions. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Making Medicine podcast, where science, policy, and innovation meet. As always, I'm your host, John Stanford. This week, we're back with top stories from around the industry in Washington. And with that, let's get into the show. Our top story is that as of recording, the federal government is shut down. The Senate was unable to come to an agreement on the House-passed continuing resolution, leading to a government shutdown, effective midnight Wednesday morning. What's next? Negotiations will continue, but there's no clear path forward. Republicans are pushing for a clean funding bill to keep the government running at current levels, while Democrats insist that any deal must also extend Affordable Care Act subsidies to prevent premium hikes in 2026. To pass a budget, Republicans will need at least 8 Democrats to join them in the Senate to move the bill forward. About 750,000 workers were put on furlough this week, but let's dive deeper into what the impact on the biotech community might be. First is, of course, the furloughs and reduced staff at regulatory agencies. President Trump will have the decision on deeming who is an essential employee and who is furloughed. But even among that essential staff, some capacity may be reduced. Historically, at the FDA, 30 to 40% of employees were furloughed. Some functions at the FDA are funded by user fees as opposed to congressional appropriations, which will allow regulatory work to continue for a time. But it may lead to a halting of new submissions or even the fee processing. So businesses and companies pursuing INDs, IDs, pre-submissions, NDAs might find some trouble in either submitting the payments or getting their new submissions processed. It also often has led to delays in review, approval, and guidance, as well as inspections, audits, and compliance oversight. Basically, the busy work that makes the FDA so strong might slow down. NIH, a critical source of funding for so much basic research, will also potentially be delayed. Grant peer review panels may be postponed. New award fundings or disbursements may be delayed. More broadly, there's an impact of a government shutdown on investor confidence and the ability to strategically plan for companies. All of these will be something we're watching, as well as how we get out of the backlog when the shutdown ends. Notably, in 2019, our most recent shutdown, delays on approvals, reviews, and other things were measured in days, not weeks. But ultimately, how long the shutdown lasts will determine how much impact it has. Also ending on September 30th for now is the SBIR and STTR programs. Despite House-passed bills that would have allowed for a 1-year reauthorization to keep the SBIR and STTR programs running, the Senate was unable to move on that legislation, leading to a sunset of the program for the first time since it was created in 1982. As many of you know, the SBIR program is a critical lifeline for that valley of death where non-dilutive funding can go to innovative companies, not just in biotech, but across many sectors. And it's been a hallmark of successful government support of innovative companies. Democrats and Republicans have been at odds over SBIR reauthorization for several months now. Understanding the threat to innovation that a pause on SBIR may bring, the House Small Business and Science, Space, and Technology chairs and ranking members co-sponsored a deal that would allow more time for negotiation to improve the program. Over in the Senate, however, there's been fierce debate between Senator Markey and Senator Ernst, who have wildly different visions for how the program should move forward, and it's that stalemate that has led to the program's pause. Incubate, along with dozens of other organizations, will be working to end this pause as swiftly as possible because the SBIR is a proven program that continues to deliver both for innovation and for the taxpayers. Even amid the shutdown conversation, that wasn't the only news this week. President Trump announced a new deal with Pfizer, with the CEO Albert Bourla on stage talking about how he's moved forward on his most favored nations proposal. As we've covered extensively, on May 12th, President Trump signed an executive order directing the administration to take a number of actions to bring American drug prices in line with those paid by other wealthy countries. On July 31st, President Trump sent letters to leading manufacturers insisting that they bring down prices through a number of steps. That deadline set in that letter came and went this week, and we had a notable announcement with Pfizer about how they have moved forward with this most favored nation pricing. President Trump shared that his team had come to an agreement that will lower the cost of Pfizer branded drugs. Primarily, it was an announcement that Pfizer would not sell its drug outside the United States for lower prices than what's available. This most favored nation price would be available through the Medicaid program. President Trump also announced a new website, Trump RX, that will be a consumer-facing website available for direct-to-patient purchasing. The announcement included other commitments about onshoring, increased R&D, as well as efforts that Pfizer will remain very America-focused. What it didn't say, however, was a lot of the details about this announcement, as well as if any other companies will be moving forward with similar pledges. President Trump certainly alluded to that, but a number of the elements of the deal will remain confidential, and so we'll still be waiting to see how this will have impacts. The markets responded generally favorably, possibly signaling an end to the turmoil, in their view, of the MFN conversation. And again, with so many details missing, it's unclear how it will impact Pfizer's bottom line. But more broadly, and as Incubate noted in our statement, there's continued uncertainty about this administration and the ability to invest further in an environment where we're talking about MFN, possible tariffs, and other actions. So while it is great to see actions being taken around the world to make sure that other countries fairly value medicine, it's also critically important that we close the chapter on these wild proposals that would dramatically decrease the ability to invest in U.S. biotech. And finally, tariffs remain in the news when last week President Trump announced plans for an 100% tariff on branded or patented pharmaceutical products beginning October 1st, unless companies are building manufacturing plants in the United States. This had some intersection with our announcement around MFN that we just discussed. Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla added during the announcement that, quote, the president graciously gave us 3 years grace period that we will not be subject to the 232 tariffs as long as, of course, we move the products here. Parsing Bourla's words will require more as Section 32 investigation results come out. Commerce Secretary Lutnick also shared insights about the ongoing 232 investigation, noting that the results will be delayed at least until the administration has had the opportunity to finish negotiations with other pharmaceutical manufacturers. So tariffs, at least for now, seem to have been dramatically tied to the negotiations with companies as it relates to MFN, as we had previously reported on. Also, because so many listeners are tied to different elements of the healthcare industry, it's worth noting that the Department of Commerce has requested a comment on Section 232 investigation on personal protective equipment, PPE, medical consumables, and medical devices. Those comments are due October 17th. That's all for this week's episode of the Making Medicine podcast. Have a thought or question about today's topics? Drop a comment and we'll feature it in next week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on LinkedIn, X, and Instagram using the links in the description. Thanks for listening. And as always, keep innovating.